next speaker is Kishan Rees, junior doctor, campaigner and founder of What Med Media. Thanks very much. Thank you everyone for turning out on a chilly day. So they should give yourselves a round of applause, which is really good. It'll give me time to get my speech out, which I was putting finishing touches to as well. And also thank you to everybody who's done speeches so far. They're very sensible. A lot of the stuff that's been commented I agree on entirely. And then more importantly, it's put across in a way that the people that are wandering on the street around are actually going to listen and come. Shouting and screaming in terms of these problems. I understand why people want to shout. I understand why people want to scream. Healthcare is an incredibly emotive subject. But the people in the corridors behind us are well aware of the fact that if we shout, if we scream, nobody's going to listen, and it just turns people off. So that's kind of what Med Media was about, is in terms of putting information out into the public domain that members of the public are going to want to listen to, and they're going to understand. Because ultimately I think unions will let people down, and that's a point for discussion that we can go into in a bit. And ultimately, and this might be controversial here, ultimately I think political parties will let people down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here.
Okay, great, cool. That's all right then, cheers. So I'll go more on that in a sec. What I'd like to do, I typed out some notes, but I'm going to see if I can do it from memory, because I'm all about challenging myself. And what I'd like to do is talk to you about my experiences in terms of the junior doctor's contract dispute through the media, and looking at how it's been played out in the media. Now, as a doctor, I know about healthcare and I understand about the issues. And I also understood when I saw things being reported in the media that it was wrong, and they were putting a slant on it, they were lying, they were misrepresenting facts, things like weekend mortality, the Hunt effect. Ultimately, people didn't attend hospitals because Jeremy Hunt and the way that statistics were used were misrepresented, and people died and people suffered as a result. So if we go back briefly to November 2015, when we started out, Jack and I, who's one of my best mates from school, we realised that the arguments that were being put across by the BMA were too technical, and they weren't going to get people involved, and they weren't going to engage members of the public, which concerned me. So I offered my services to the BMA, and they declined, which is fair enough. I mean, okay, they're busy, they've got other things going on, and I cracked on with my stuff. And I think that's a real shame, because members of the public, ultimately, members of the public pay doctors' wages, and they rely on this service, and they need the NHS, and we've got to be really, really careful to protect it, otherwise we'll lose it. The interview that I did with Peter Levy on Look North was fairly concerning. So basically I went home, filmed it, put it out on social media, and needless to say wasn't invited back on the BBC again. The most fun I had was when I gate crashed BBC Radio Lincoln as well. I'm probably on some kind of blacklist for local radio and BBC in Lincoln. So I live streamed it and launched a staunch defence of the public sector, in the sense that it's not just doctors that are suffering, but it's nurses, firefighters, paramedics, ambulance staff. All these groups of people who are the most caring and compassionate members of society cannot be wrong. But I did realise that after these interviews we would struggle to shape the mainstream media narrative unless we thought outside the box. So my dyslexic mind was quite good for that, and utilised social media and the tools that we had at our disposal. And you know, I've popped up on Sky, and we put that out, and we've got some of those videos to 500,000 people. So we're definitely shaping, with those kind of numbers, we're definitely shaping the media narrative. One of the funniest comments that I had, the person will remain nameless, but needless to say that he's a council member on the BMA. They described What Med Media as tin pot, which is fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. They also describe it as tabloid. Again, fair enough, it's fine. But then the next day they actually described something that I put out as Murdoch-esque, and I wasn't sure whether to take that as a compliment or as an insult. But yeah. So, why am I telling you this? Well, I thought at the time I made my feelings clear about the BMA, the shape of the problem, and junior doctors were only part of the wider picture. And we went to some media training put on by a company called UK Body Talk. And I'm eternally grateful. There were some JDC members present there, and they kept on telling me, don't talk about the wider picture, keep it on message, keep it on message. And when I asked what message and whose message, the answers weren't really forthcoming. So fast forward 18 months, and it really is a sorry state of affairs for young doctors in the NHS in 2017. in addition to witnessing horror stories myself, I'm in the privileged position through the What Med Media Facebook page to receive stories anonymously from doctors and patients, so I get a real dipstick of what's going on across the country. And I caught up with one of my mates the other day from medical school, and I said to him, what have you been doing for the last 5 years? And he goes, nothing, just eating, sleeping, going to work, missed 2 family funerals in the last year, and got shingles as well. And he's somebody who's 30 years old. So is that really right? I'd probably say not. Well, definitely say not, in fact. But I understand that these doctors are in catch-22 and they can't speak out for fear of reprisals, for fear of losing their careers. And also, thanks to the BMA, there's no whistleblowing, or it's alleged that there's no whistleblowing protection in this contract. So thankfully, Dr. Chris Day, and we've helped him crowdfund £100,000. Thanks to, I'm sure many of you here, members of the public, we've raised £100,000, so we will be taking, or he will be taking them to court, and we'll get some answers on the 21st and 22nd of March, hopefully. So that's quite exciting, that's good to see. So the first part of this speech has been pretty miserable in parts, so I've tried to make it as lively as possible. And I appreciate campaigners are tired, but there is no shame in stepping away from social media, refreshing yourselves and coming back for the fight, because the alternative, the enforcement of a mandatory health insurance model, which is what we're being ripened up to, is likely and suffering of the great British public. And I, for one, will not, I didn't go into medicine to do that. I'm quite happy in terms of losing a medical career in a private hospital, because I wouldn't want to work in a private hospital. As a doctor, I don't want to ration care in that way, and I see it as an extension of my Hippocratic oath to do what I'm doing now.
Yes.
Well said, mate.
It's a shame some of the people in the BMA are more interested in climbing that greasy pole than saying this kind of stuff. But anyway, it's up to them. So, social media is the saving grace for this, however. As we've proved with What Med Media, against all odds, competed with the BMA's mammoth marketing budget to secure a Novo and also help Dr. Chris Day with his £100,000 fundraising. I'd like to leave on a final note, which is something that I learned from on the MBA. So I'm eternally grateful to Lincoln County Hospital. They fund an MBA, so I learned some of the dark arts of management consultancies, and I can see how management consultancies are privatising, are slowly trying to ripen the NHS for privatisation. And when I was in that room, I was just asking questions that were deliberately provocative, and I was just watching people's reactions. But one of the things they talked about was corporate psychopaths, and I'm sure there's enough of them running around in the corridors behind us. Not today, not the weekend, no, not on a Saturday, Sunday. But the concept of corporate psychopaths is basically, it ties into the thing at the beginning of the speech about how shouting and being angry doesn't really work, in the sense that corporate psychopaths are so emotionally detached from kind of other people's feelings and emotions that they will deliberately start fires and get middle management infighting with each other. Sounds a lot like junior doctors in terms of how that's panned out, so that they can continue with their corporate objective and focus on what they want to do. And do we think Jeremy Hunt really cares if people think that what they say? That he doesn't care at all. You know, he's just sold his company, Hot Courses, I believe, for £15 million. Private health insurance, they've got it, it's fine. That's not actually the right though, because if the NHS gets privatised, which is going that way, emergency care, no health insurer is going to, hello to people on the bus, you alright? So I'm really distractible. I've said to a few people today that if I was a kid nowadays with all this kind of stuff going on, I'd probably get diagnosed with ADHD or something. But does Jeremy Hunt really care? No, he doesn't. So we've got to keep doing what we're doing. We've got to keep raising public opinion. Our NHS is not dead yet. I completely agree with that sign. So enjoy the march. Thanks so much for coming. Take care. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.